Friday Night SmackDown tonight emanates once again from the Amway Center in Orlando, Florida, inside the WWE ThunderDome, as we're now on the road to WWE Clash of Champions later this month in September as we head into the fall. A weird thing, isn't it, when WWE, once they get past SummerSlam, this period of time from sort of September to January can be a bit of a dead space sometimes. Now, historically, wasn't always the case because November had Survivor Series, and sometimes Survivor Series can be good, but in recent years, Survivor Series has just become bragging rights, hasn't it? It's become the bragging rights version. Do you remember that pay-per-view bragging rights used to be October? Now it's just been moved into Survivor Series, which we get Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, which isn't normally a bad thing, but my point being is that as we enter the fall here in WWE, sometimes it can get a little bit stale because we've done the big two things of the year, right? We've done WrestleMania, we've done SummerSlam, but tonight's SmackDown does have quite a bit going on it, quite a lot to look forward to. So let's break it down. Let's have a bit of a preview here, what to expect, where I think certain things are going. We've got title matches tonight. We've got new characters being revealed. So there's a lot to unpack here on Friday Night SmackDown on Fox, inside the WWE ThunderDome. So, as you can see on the cover card, the thumbnail of this video, there will be an Intercontinental Championship match tonight on Friday Night SmackDown. We will see the rematch between AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy for the Intercontinental Championship. Of course, Jeff Hardy defeated AJ Styles on the SmackDown, the go-home edition of SmackDown before SummerSlam, the first show inside the WWE ThunderDome to become the Intercontinental Champion. Now, the story they've been trying to tell in this one, which is a bit weird, to be honest, is that AJ Styles is kind of saying that Jeff Hardy's a cheat because during that episode of SmackDown, where Jeff Hardy won the Intercontinental Championship, when Retribution was still a thing on SmackDown, invaded the ring. The SmackDown superstars and locker room comes out to fight them off, and AJ Styles attacks Jeff Hardy's knee during this period of time. I actually really enjoyed that angle. I thought, well, why wouldn't you do that? If you know you're going to be defending the title later on tonight against your opponent, you see your opponent out there with his back turned, of course you kick him in the back of the knee. It was genius. But part of that storyline was that Jeff Hardy got a knee brace put on by a trainer backstage, and then the knee brace hit AJ Styles during the Intercontinental Championship match, and Jeff Hardy wins the match, wins the Intercontinental Championship, becomes an Intercontinental Champion in WWE for the 5th time. So AJ Styles has been going on recently saying that Jeff Hardy's a cheat, he cheated, he hit me with a knee brace, blah, 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 etc., etc. In recent weeks, Jeff Hardy's defended the Intercontinental Championship. Last week, he defended it. Was it last week? I think so, it was last week. Defended it against Shinsuke Nakamura on Friday Night SmackDown, which was a fun match, but a pretty meaningless match. But it also meant the return of Sami Zayn. Yes, the true Intercontinental Champion. That's what he's calling himself, the real Intercontinental Champion, because, of course, Sami Zayn never lost the Intercontinental Championship. He won it from Braun Strowman back in February at the Elimination Chamber. Was it March? I think it was March, actually, at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. This year just feels like a million years into one, doesn't it? But he won it from Braun Strowman at Elimination Chamber back when we had crowds. Do you remember those crowds? Oh, it was nice, wasn't it, back then? But Sami Zayn defeated Braun Strowman, held the Intercontinental Championship for a while, even defeated Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania to retain the Intercontinental Championship. But then, due to the pandemic really ramping up, Sami Zayn, like Roman Reigns, didn't feel comfortable performing during the pandemic, and rightfully so, by the way. Some of those horror stories that we heard from the WWE Performance Center in the months of April, May, June, and July are just horrific. No masks, no social distancing, no testing. Remember, let's not forget about that. People are quick to forget about that now. WWE's protocols when it comes to COVID now are actually pretty good. And I've got to give them credit now because they do have social distancing. There's a mandatory you have to wear a mask. You have to be tested before you arrive at the arena and after the show, which is what they should do. And they've got hand sanitizing stations all over the Amway Center. So they've got it in check now. But that wasn't after not having it in check for a very long time. We're talking like 4 months. They didn't have their house in order at all. At all. Which is why you saw over 40 positive COVID cases coming out of that WWE Performance Center over those months. Yeah. So, and AJ Styles was one of them, by the way. So Sami Zayn, Roman Reigns, they were absolutely justified to stay away from the Performance Center, because why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? But now that WWE has got their house in order, Sami Zayn returned a couple of weeks ago on SmackDown with his Intercontinental Championship. So we've got a bit of a situation which we've seen over the course of professional wrestling history, WWE history, where there are two champions with both legitimate claims to the titles, right? So we saw it before with Razor Ramon, Shawn Michaels, after the ladder match. It was the ladder match at WrestleMania 10, wasn't it? Shawn Michaels was the Intercontinental Champion, got suspended. Razor Ramon won the Intercontinental title. Then they come back and you've got two titles hanging above the ring at WrestleMania. That was the deal. We've also seen it with... We saw it with CM Punk and John Cena, the two titles in 2011 with CM Punk when he won the title and left the company. John Cena then won the WWE Championship. CM Punk comes back. You've got two titles. Eventually, what happens every time is you get a match whereby both champions face off and we try and crown an undisputed champion. However, in this case, I think we're likely to have like a triple threat match. That's where I see this going. I would be surprised if we saw some form of a clean finish tonight. I just don't see that happening, because if we were going to have a Jeff Hardy versus Sami Zayn feud, we would just be doing that now. But AJ Styles is still hovering around the picture here. His feud with Jeff Hardy isn't over just yet. And plus, if it is over with Jeff Hardy, where does AJ Styles go? I don't see who he would really feud with on SmackDown at this point. I would like to see him have a longer feud with Matt Riddle. I enjoyed the AJ Styles Matt Riddle match they had on SmackDown about a month ago now for the Intercontinental title. I thought that was a lot of fun, and I would like to see him maybe do something more with that. But Matt Riddle is involved with King Corbin at the moment. So I don't see where else AJ Styles could go. So in terms of this one, I would suggest that I don't think AJ Styles is going to win the title. I think Jeff Hardy's going to hold the title for a little bit at least. So, but I don't see AJ Styles losing either. I think we're going to have a bit of a screwy finish. I wouldn't be surprised if Sami Zayn does get involved here. I think what we're heading to is a match at Clash of the Champions, or Clash of Champions rather, not Clash of the Champions, that's WCW. Clash of Champions, which is WWE. I think we're probably going to see a triple threat match, Hardy versus Styles versus Zayn, winner take all. And maybe the ironic thing is that we could come out of that having AJ Styles win, leave with both titles, and he didn't have any coming in. That would seem like a very WWE thing to do, wouldn't it? So I'm looking forward to this one. I think AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy's match for the title a couple of weeks ago on SmackDown was a lot of fun. I expect no different. I think AJ Styles... It's surprising, isn't it? Because he went to SmackDown, some say to get rid of Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman's now on SmackDown once again. So that's very interesting, isn't it? But yeah, this one should be a lot of fun tonight. I'm looking forward to it. Support for Wrestle News 365 is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Now, Manscaped, for all of my UK fans out there, Manscaped just launched in the UK. Over here in the United Kingdom, we have gone for years and years and years without using the right tools for the job. But now you can be one of the first men in England to experience their life-changing product. But it's not just limited to all of the great fans over here in the UK. This offer goes worldwide, so all of my friends over in America and around the world that are listening to this offer still does apply for you. You can still use our code. But I've got to tell you a quick story first. Now, there have been so many times, right? I'm a guy. You gotta groom down there, fellas, right? That's the most important thing. You gotta keep yourself trimmed. You gotta keep yourself proper. And a lot of the time, I've been guilty of this, of using the wrong tools for the job. I've had incidences, I'm not afraid to say it, where things have been nicked, snagged, or in fact cut down there because I wasn't being careful enough and using the right equipment. Now that just shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen. You don't want to be worrying about cutting yourself down there. Do you know how painful that is? I can tell you, it hurts quite a lot. And I wish and hope to God it never happens to me again, and it won't happen to me ever again because I'm using Manscaped products. That's why Manscaped has redesigned the electric trimmer. The Manscaped engineering team has perfected the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created. Big statement, but it's absolutely true. They have just released the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0 in the UK. It's also available around the world as well. Their third generation trimmer features a cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents. So those cuts and snags that I was telling you about before are a thing of the past. And let me tell you, when I tell you this is premium, I mean premium. The battery will last up to 90 minutes, so you can get a longer, perfect shave. And not only that, you don't want to be cutting yourself and trimming yourself all over the bathroom, getting hair all over the place. That's just disgusting. The lawnmower has a waterproof technology that allows you to groom in the shower, so no more mess. And one of the coolest features, one of my favourite features about the lawnmower, is the LED light which illuminates grooming areas for a closer and more precise trimming experience. So you can shave longer, you can shave more precisely, and you can shave in the shower. What more did I need to tell you? They've also upgraded to a 7,000 RPM motor with quiet stroke technology, and let's not forget about the charging stand. You can show off your mower loud and proud because this intelligently designed stand is a convenient charging dock powered by USB. So, if you are listening to me speak right now, I want you to experience it firsthand for yourself. Let's get that bush to tush clean, and you can get 20% off and free shipping. Yeah, you heard me right there. 20% off and free shipping. All you have to do is use the code 365wrestle at manscaped.com. Make your testes their besties. That's 20% off and free shipping. Not only are you getting 20% off, you're getting free shipping as well with the code 365wrestle at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use the code 365wrestle. Your balls will thank you. Speaking of Paul Heyman, of course, we'll have the fallout from last week. Last week on SmackDown, we had Jey Uso, shockingly, become the number one contender for the Universal Championship. I don't think a lot of people saw this coming because all the reports suggested that the next challenger, or the first challenger for Roman Reigns' Universal title, was going to be Bray Wyatt. He was going to be the one chasing the title for a long time, with Bray Wyatt becoming a babyface, Roman Reigns being a heel, and Braun Strowman disappearing into the wind. So I was surprised to see Jey Uso win it last week. I must say, when we're talking about Jey Uso becoming the number one contender in SmackDown last week, I thought SmackDown last week was very good. I think it's been pretty good the last few weeks, to be honest. And ever since going into the Amway Center and the ThunderDome, I think the quality of the show has improved. The ratings have pretty much improved. They're pretty much over 2 million most weeks now, which still, prior to the pandemic, they were around 2.5. So it's still not amazing, but television ratings are declining across the board for television, not just pro wrestling, but across the board. Cable cutting, cost measures, people watching the news instead of watching pro wrestling. It's just how the case is at the moment. But we'll see a continuation of the Roman Reigns Jey Uso feud as we head into Clash of Champions. I'm interested in it. It's different. It's nice to see a different face in the Universal Championship picture. I have no doubt in my mind that Roman Reigns is going to win. Roman Reigns is not going to drop the title to Jey Uso, but what a way to establish Roman Reigns as a villain, right? Than beating up his own flesh and blood. That's pretty heelish. That's pretty villainous. Villainous. Is that even a word? I don't know if it is a word, but the point being that if you're in any doubt that Roman Reigns was a heel or he wasn't a heel, he's with Paul Heyman. He wins the Universal Championship at Payback after not even really being in the match. He shows up like Brock Lesnar, kicks the guy in the balls and wins the title. He then talks down to his family last week, and he looks like he's going to beat the hell out of Jey Uso at some point and turn on him anyway. That is a heel's heel. That is a total villain, and I love it. I love it. This is desperately needed for Roman Reigns. You can tell this is what he wants to do. He's having a lot of fun doing it. So, got to give credit for Roman Reigns. You have to give credit to those higher-ups in WWE for allowing Roman Reigns to do it, taking a risk. How often over the years, right? John Cena, we want to see Cena turn heel and they would never do it. I'm not saying Roman Reigns is on the same level as Cena yet, but he's in that spot. He's in the Cena spot in this generation, this era. And WWE, they've decided to do something different. How do you get this guy over? You do what is worked for years and years and years. You make him a heel. Because if you're a good heel, if you're a good villain, you always turn into the hero. That's how it works. That's how it's always worked. The Rock, Steve Austin, John Cena, Triple H, The Undertaker, any hero you name, they were a heel first. That's how it's always worked. So I think it's the smart thing to do for Roman Reigns. I think it's the right thing to do with Roman Reigns. And I'm excited to see where it goes for Clash of Champions. As I mentioned, Jey Uso isn't going to beat his cousin I mean, that's not going to happen. But I do think it's a good use of Jey Uso, because a thing that bugs me sometimes is when you are in a tag team, if you do have one go down with an injury, the other one tends to disappear from TV. And I think Jey Uso has something more to offer. He's been with the WWE for 10 years on the main roster. He's obviously an influential figure backstage. He's got a lot to offer on the screen as well. And that's more than just hosting stupid karaoke showdown contests like he did on SmackDown previously. So I think this is going to be interesting and a lot of fun. And the day that Roman Reigns turns on his cousin and beats the hell out of his family to side with the evil Paul Heyman is going to be brilliant. So I'm looking forward to that too. So what else have we got scheduled for tonight's edition of SmackDown? We've also got Bayley addressing last week's vicious attack on Sasha Banks. Now, last week, of course, saw what everyone saw coming. Everyone knew it was going to happen. We just didn't know when. But last week, Bayley attacked Sasha Banks, ending the friendship of the Golden Role Models after they lost their tag team title rematch to Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. So Bayley's going to come out this week and cut her standard heel promo explaining why she turned her back on her best friend and injured her leg. We have had some injury updates from Sasha Banks. I did a live stream earlier today discussing the updates for this storyline, where I think they're going with it. So be sure to check that out on the channel. Long story short, I hope they stretch this out until WrestleMania. I think they should stretch this out until WrestleMania, because have Sasha Banks come back at the Royal Rumble, win that, face Bayley in the main event. Yes, I said it, the main event of WrestleMania 37, and have a moment and have the second women's main event in WrestleMania history. Prove that the first one wasn't just a PR moment and wasn't just a moment to try and show everyone, look how inclusive the WWE is. If you do it once, that's one thing. If you do it twice, you're saying to everyone, that's a statement. You're saying, women's wrestling's here to stay. It's a draw. It's at the front and center of WWE. And this feud can do it, because this feud has been simmering, bubbling, and planting subtle seeds and subtle nuances for almost 2 years now. And come WrestleMania in 2021, that'll be 2 years since Bayley and Sasha Banks competed at WrestleMania 35, lost the title, and that was the beginning of Sasha Banks' heel turn. Fast forward 2 years later, Bayley's the heel, Sasha's the babyface, and we have a WrestleMania main event that could really be something else, really be something special. So tonight on SmackDown, we're going to have Bayley explaining her actions, why she did what she did, and we're going to have an update for that. My only concern is, and I said this in the stream earlier today, don't rush it, WWE. You don't need to rush it. There's rumours about them hot-shotting this angle to have a Hell in a Cell match at Hell in a Cell in October. That would be such a waste. That would be such a waste of all of the time that they've put into this storyline, how long we've waited to see the big Sasha Banks-Bayley match, because, of course, their chemistry and their history is off the charts. Their match at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn is one of, maybe the best NXT TakeOver match of all time. And it's one of the best NXT matches of all time and one of the best female matches in WWE history. So that deserves more than a Hell in a Cell match. And obviously, a Hell in a Cell is a great match, but it's too soon. It's too soon for me. You could save this, you could let it simmer, and you could do a main event at WrestleMania. And that would really mean something. And the Hell in a Cell match would mean something. The feud is made for a Hell in a Cell match, but I think it's too soon. So hopefully we won't get that, and hopefully they'll save it for WrestleMania. So finally, also tonight on SmackDown, Bray Wyatt last week, during an episode of the Firefly Funhouse, announced that he was going to unveil an all-new character this week inside the Firefly Funhouse on SmackDown. So who's it going to be? Well, there was a trademark filed by WWE last week called Wobbly Walrus. Now, a lot of people have put two and two together and speculated that Wobbly Walrus will be the new character this week on Friday Night SmackDown inside the Firefly Funhouse. Initially, when I heard that, I was concerned that it was going to be Paul Heyman, because how often has Paul Heyman been called a walrus on WWE TV? I think it was The Miz, all the way back in, I want to say it's like 2013, was the first to call Paul Heyman a walrus, and they called him the Paul Russ. And then Jerry Lawler, every time Paul Heyman appeared anywhere, would call him a walrus, because, get it, he's fat and he's got a blubbery chin. Funny, right? So I was concerned, oh my God, they're going to call Paul Heyman Wobbly Walrus. So some people then calmed me down and said it's likely to be a Firefly Funhouse puppet, which I think is absolutely a possibility. What I will say, though, Wobbly Walrus may be a Firefly Funhouse puppet. That doesn't mean it won't be Paul Heyman, though. Because inside the Firefly Funhouse, those puppets have been reflecting real people most of the time, right? There's a Vince McMahon puppet in there. There's Abby the Witch, Sister Abigail. There's Huskus the Pig, meant to be Husky Harris. So I think we're going to see Wobbly Walrus, which is going to look very, very similar to Paul Heyman. I think that's where this is going tonight. So I think the new character will be Wobbly Walrus. I think it will look exactly like Paul Heyman, and that'll be the new character added into the Firefly Funhouse. But also something to consider here is the Alexa Bliss involvement, of course. Alexa Bliss, ever since she was attacked by The Fiend a couple of months ago, and then the following week she stroked The Fiend's face, there's been this weird relationship going on with Alexa Bliss sort of having a bit of a fascination with The Fiend. She appeared a couple of weeks ago on SmackDown, and she had one of those sort of Fiend braids in her hair. Then at Payback, she was watching The Fiend compete on the monitor. They cut back to her several times. She's been sort of showing weird, I want to say aspects of almost like PTSD, because every time someone mentions The Fiend, she smashed her mug of coffee with Nikki Cross. And then last week, Nikki Cross was speaking to Alexa Bliss backstage, and this was right after the Firefly Funhouse segment. And as Alexa Bliss is speaking to Nikki Cross, who is there in the background but none other than Ramblin' Rabbit. So I think we are going to, it looks like we're going to have some form of Alexa Bliss being involved with Bray Wyatt, being involved with The Fiend, maybe being a part of the Firefly Funhouse. No matter what people say, and I know people will want to say this, I don't think Alexa Bliss is going to be Sister Abigail or anything like that. I think that ship has sailed. If you look at interviews with the likes of Eric Rowan and so many people, they've openly said Sister Abigail isn't actually a thing. It's more of a concept. Maybe Alexa Bliss is the closest we're going to get to that concept, but she's not going to be Sister Abigail. She's going to be Alexa Bliss. I think what they're going to try and do here is kind of do a Harley Quinn and the Joker kind of relationship between The Fiend and Alexa Bliss, right? Alexa Bliss has cosplayed as Harley Quinn about 1 million times. She's got the Harley Quinn hairstyle back up and running now. The Fiend carries around a mallet like the Joker and like Harley Quinn, who's famous for having the mallet in the DC comics. And I think people will enjoy it. People like that relationship between the Joker and Harley Quinn. If anything, though, if you look into it in the comics, it's incredibly dark. That relationship is very, very dark. And I won't go into it here. Do the reading yourself. But I'm not sure WWE would go that far. But what I will say is the relationship between Harley Quinn and the Joker is very, very popular. Not just in the comics, but in the wider world. That Suicide Squad movie, I think the most popular thing about it certainly wasn't Jared Leto's Joker, but one thing that was very popular about it was the relationship between the Joker and Harley Quinn. Every Halloween now, or everything that involves some form of cosplay, you will see a Joker and Harley Quinn partnership. They love it. Social media, the current generation, they love it. So I'm sure WWE are trying to get involved in that, try and get some money out of that, have The Fiend be the Joker, and have Alexa Bliss be Harley Quinn and do something like that. So I would expect not only, this is my prediction, that Wobbly Walrus, who is Paul Heyman, that character gets added to the Firefly Funhouse, that puppet gets added, but we'll also see an Alexa Bliss appearance during the Firefly Funhouse tonight. But it should be a lot of fun tonight. Looking forward to SmackDown as always. As I mentioned, last few weeks been very, very good, so very excited to see what happens. What are your predictions, and what are the things you're excited about for Friday Night SmackDown tonight? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be sure to respond and reply to all of your comments there. Really enjoy interacting with you guys on this channel. All opinions, of course, are always welcome. If you've enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button. Really does help us out here on YouTube. Go up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos before. Really does help us out with the old algorithm here on YouTube. So if you haven't already, please do click the like button. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to WrestleNews 365 as we close in on 800 subscribers. You can do that bottom right hand corner, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video, along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.